Agriculture ministers from the European Union have met in Brussels to discuss the crisis facing farms in the bloc. European farmers have staged huge protests this year over a range of issues, including the war in Ukraine and environmental rules and regulations. According to the EU, farmers' income is around 40% lower than non-agricultural income, and it's getting worse. At the same time, costs have been soaring. The price of energy, fertilizer and transport have soared. Farmers claim cheap imports from outside the EU have been crowding the marketplace and undercutting their produce. Products from places like New Zealand and Chile aren't governed by strict EU rules, while Ukrainian products, especially wheat, have entered the market tariff-free as part of European efforts to help Kiev during its war with Russia. And the EU is pushing to be climate neutral by 2050. The farming sector accounts for 11% of the bloc's greenhouse gas emissions. A new regulation to reduce pesticide and fertilizer use has hit farmers particularly hard. Coupled with conflicting demands for cheap food and high-standard, climate-friendly processes, farmers say these are policies that are unfair and unrealistic. Natasha Foot is an agri-food journalist and she joins us now live from Brussels. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Hello.
So farmers are claiming that cheap imports from outside the EU have been crowding the marketplace and undercutting their produce. Is it true? What's been happening? Can you help us understand more?
Yeah, this is complex, but it's one of the key elements driving the unrest we've seen in the agri-food sector. So, of course, the farmers are saying if they're being asked to comply with more stringent environmental production standards, their work shouldn't be undermined by importing products with lower standards. Now, it's important to differentiate here between food quality and safety and the way the food has been produced. So, of course, the foodstuffs entering the EU, they're not of lower quality or a risk to health. That's a not negotiable point. We're talking here about animal welfare standards, pesticide use and sustainable practices, farmers are especially concerned about the Mercosur trade deal. However, the EU cannot impose production standards on other countries. Not only is this kind of paternalistic for the EU to set this kind of bar, but also it's illegal under international trade rules. Now, of course, Ukraine is quite a specific case here. Ukraine is, of course, a global agricultural powerhouse. There's been an influx of agri-food goods, as you said, since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Caused a lot of tensions with farmers, both on the border in Poland, Hungary, Romania, but also increasingly across the EU. Now, the Commission is caught between a rock and a hard place here between supporting a war-torn country and supporting their farmers. There was a deal sealed actually this week by member states to extend free trade with Ukraine until June 2025. There are a number of provisions designed to keep the farming sector happy, but we'll see if that is the case.
No, interesting. But if, as you say, the EU can't do much to solve the problem, then who can do something to at least improve the situation in the short term, at least?
Yeah, well, as I said, there were a number of provisions that the EU have put forward, at least to help with the Ukraine situation. So, for example, in this deal that was created this week from member states, there are safeguards on a number of products that are deemed sensitive. For example, poultry, eggs, sugar, a number of other products that will be subject to tariffs if their flows exceed average volumes, the average volumes of the past 3 years. The deal will also give more power to member states to apply remedial measures in case of market turmoil. So there are a few things the EU is trying to do to address this situation.
Natasha Foot, thank you very much for your analysis.
Thank you.